Go. What's up, world? It's your boy, the Beerded Brotha. And I know you used to see me in breweries in Nashville, but I decided to take a little virtual trip back home to Atlanta. And holler at my boy. Lived in Nashville with me. Hurt my heart when he bounced, but I understood. So it was just a single thug tear when he left. But he is the owner and founder of Deuce and a Quarter. He was hanging out in the living room, but he had somewhere to go, so he jumped in the whip and had to get down the street real quick. But y'all see him on the screen, so I'm gonna introduce him. It's my guy, Darren Armstrong. What's going on, my man?
What's up, Beerded Brother? What's up, Brother Kramer?
What's going on? How you been?
I'm good, man. Happy to be in the building, man. It's been an interesting ride ever since these ideas started. The rumbling started in Nashville, and finally took off. And from the living room to Deuce and a Quarter and everything in between, it's been dope. Being in Atlanta has been dope. Definitely miss you all in Nashville. And as we were talking earlier, just the role that Swig Podcast, you played, Shawnee and other people in Nashville have played in me getting to where I am now. So this is it's a collective journey, and I'm just happy to be in the land of the living and being able to politic with you, brother. So thank you for the invitation.
Of course, man. Of course. And I kind of want to talk about that journey. What in Nashville ignited the living room, and then what sparked the change from, all right, I'm going to take from the living room, I'm going to jump in the car and get my Deuce in the Quarter rolling.
No, so the living room was, when I first came up with the concept for, my brew pub, it was all about community, right? And for me, that's where the idea of the living room just kind of came to life. People gathering, creating community around beer, around inclusivity, around representation. And so that was kind of the space that I was in. I was looking at, all right, the living room. I'm thinking about what it could look like, what it could sound like, just the overall experience. But then there was something that was missing, because I just knew there's more to this. There's a story here. And I started digging a little bit more and kind of took a step back to think about, all right, well, what's this really about? And taking it back to the idea of community, I learned community from my grandfather. So my grandfather was a civil rights leader in Birmingham. He was Dr. King's barber. He carried the flag across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in the Bloody Sunday March. And my dad and uncle desegregated the Birmingham public school system. So I come from that kind of family. But
oh wow,
yeah, my grandfather double purposed his shop. And I feel like a lot of just kind of Black business owners, it's incumbent that we do that anyway, because we've had to, for survival, for communicating, for creating safe spaces when we didn't have any safe spaces. And so I said, well, my grandpa taught me this at the barbershop. Okay, I need to bring him into the model, because this story is also very much rooted in him and just standing on those shoulders of other people who've been here before us, and continuing that legacy for the next generation. So I'm like, okay, living room, and then I was just like, craft. I went from living room to craft 225, and the 225 was an extension of my grandfather, in that he drove a Deuce and a Quarter, as that was his other office. And that was also something that whenever you saw that red Deuce and a Quarter around Birmingham with the coat hanger on the door handle and the tape on the back,
you knew who it was.
You knew who it was. You knew You knew it was James Armstrong. You knew it was James. So as I'm going through name changes and I'm thinking about, you know, the intent behind creating community, craft beer education or education period, being a place that's not only for obviously a business, but also a place that's going to anchor in a community and help get things done. I'm like, all right, Grandpa's part of this, but I was still not scratching the surface. And then Sharpton, Ale and I were talking, and he was like, dude, you know what this is. Scrap the 225. I said, okay. He said, dude, just deuce and a quarter, bro. He said, it's easy. And I'm like, damn, it is easy. So that's how we got to deuce and a quarter. And then also, deuce and a quarter, it's black culture, it's pop culture, it's car culture. And there's a story there. And I want people to be able to, create their stories at deuce and a quarter and just kind of understand what is part of, the values that are part of this brew pub and this organization. So that's how we got to deuce and a quarter. That's the story.
No, I love that. I love the help you have with L Sharp. And sometimes you just need that good slap upside the head. Be like, hey, man, like, look, it's right there. And
Right there, man.
kind of, yeah, man. But like, that's important finding people that are willing to help you in mentoring. And as we try to grow the black community,
Yeah.
how important is mentoring from someone in your neighborhood or someone across the way? Like, how important is that to kind of really go bolster the 1% ownership, which needs to
Yeah.
drastically change in the craft
Yeah.
beer space, but how we make that a strong 1% in the moment?
I mean, having mentors, advocates has been key. I mean, I can chart, California. Um, I've had, folks who've been very helpful. Um, everywhere from Cali to Tennessee to Atlanta. Like, you need people that are just going to, help you kick the ball down the field. People who are either doing it, people who've already done it. So for example, Ale, Jen from Atlanta Beer Boutique and, Craft for Action. I mean, down home, Will invited me. It was a summer of, I think, 18. I think it was a summer of 18. No, hold on. No, summer of 19, I think. Um, Will Moore from down home invited me to Atlanta to come check out Leaders of the Brew School. I was deciding between moving to Charlotte and here, and it was a no-brainer. Like, I saw the collective support. I saw that people were sharing information. Back in Nashville, Smith and Lentz, stopped by there, talked to those guys. The mentorship, you, Shawnee, through the podcast, through things, through what you all are doing, the exposure. Everybody has played a role, and mentoring is key. There's no manual for this, right?
Not at all.
So you zigzagging. Okay, so I've got this process, and then I'm going here. I've talked to these people. I've gone to this brewery. I'm home brewing. I'm learning here. I'm in this program. Like, it goes all over the place. So it's just very vital. And because there is no structure, so there's good to have people who can offer that information, who can offer the resources. In addition to, I've been part of some accelerator programs that provided structure and or mentors through that. I went through Founder Gym. I went through the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, the pre-flight program here in Atlanta, the Village Micro Fund at the Russell Innovation Center for Excellence, where they are particularly supporting and getting behind Black-owned businesses. And I mean, that's their ethos, right?
Right.
So I can't say how important, like, it's beyond vital. I mean, opportunities I've brewed with Atlantucky, they just had obviously their anniversary last night.
Shout out to them, man.
Yes,
I was hurt I couldn't make that.
yes. Lion Creek, Variant, Indigo, Hip Hop Heads. I had my first release with Hip and Hops, which is, Georgia's first brick and mortar black-owned brewery.
Shouts out to them. Also, I need some of that collab if y'all got that canned anywhere. I know y'all got some hiding, so no, don't sit here and lie to me, Darren.
Hey man, we gotta get that going. Our culture, who is, they're in a pilot program now with Creature Comforts, and they're doing some amazing stuff. So like all these people have, have passed on wisdom, have shared, how tos, and have just been, voices when I have questions. Yeah, as I said, our folks in Cali, Crowns and Hops,
Got the wristband on.
Kevin Johnson, like everybody from the Black Brewers Association, um, you know, Vice District in Chicago, Quentin and they were influential. I mean, those were the first people who I saw um, when I came back to Chicago from Cali. Like, okay, let me understand what craft beer is, what brewing is, how to run a business, and let's show you what we can. So yeah, Curtis and Quentin and everybody, man. It's been really dope. So I am doing what I can to help others. For example, bringing college students and creating internships and apprenticeships that then can later turn into business and investment opportunities. Like we talked about earlier, and that number kind of just is over our head. But that less than 1%, we gotta bump that up. And there are several pieces of pie to cut and share. We don't have to feel like, oh, I can only give to you and I can't give to you. Nah, that's not how this is gonna work. That's not how I learned. That's not how you showed me or other people who've shown me that have been part of this journey.
No, for sure. And no, I love that, like bringing people in, and like you said, the less than 1% is glaring, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little number, but it's a big problem at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it's just like craft beer could use a shot in the arm of culture, and we can
Yeah.
bring that. And I love the idea of the hip hop essence of Deuce in a Quarter. And I was just talking to a local rapper, Brian Brown,
Okay.
on my last episode, and G Slap, another rapper in the Nashville area. Shouts out to both of them, dope artists. I'll put their information down below. You can hear some of their bars and everything. But just talking with them and just talking about like beer and hip hop go hand in hand. If you really sit and think about it, it's beer is damn near hip hop when you think about it, because you got hip hop, you got beer, but you got different styles. You got
Yeah.
lyricism, you got party music, you got stouts, you got pilsners, you got things that have different stories and different
I'm not
styles.
gonna right now, but yeah, like you said, Lord Sauce. Come on now. This
Right.
is hip hop, like
And
it's hip hop. Like this is shout out to Daffy and Atlanta, Tucky, but come on, man.
come on now, yeah, like man, y'all out here tripping if y'all can't see that. But speaking of beer, we're on a beer podcast. You can crack something open if you want, Darren, but I definitely am. And I'm gonna start with our homies out of LA. They did their collab curate
Yeah.
their Pilsner Chappelle Ale collab with Allagash. And this is
Okay.
Crowns and Hops, y'all, out of LA, and Allagash out of Maine. They collabed and created this light, oaky, smooth, like combination. Because I think it's like 80% of Pilsner from Allagash, and then 20%
Okay.
from Crowns and Hops. It might be backwards. So Teo and Allagash folks, if y'all hear this podcast, feel free to correct me in the comments because I don't want to get y'all stuff wrong. But I'm about to crack this
Yeah.
thing open. And just going back to collaborations and allyship, like, yeah, I know you collabed with Hip and Hops.
Mm-hmm.
What do non black owned breweries need to bring to the table for black owned breweries to work with them? And what do you look for in a collaboration? What are some like, oh, I need to work with Beerded Brotha because blah blah blah, or I don't need to work with them?
Man, so
Ooh, that's good.
let's
Sorry.
start with the non-black owned breweries. I think the first thing is just openness. Like, okay, what do you want to do? And being open to the idea of, and it's kind of like a trick bag that happens in other spaces where people will say, you're cool, but you're not big enough, or you're not established enough yet, or you don't have enough cachet. What do we get out of this, right? If anything, it's an opportunity that you're sharing knowledge and you're also elevating, your presence with a whole different demographic and or uh, different, we'll say, generations of beer drinkers, those who are aficionados, those who are brand new. I think so. It's being open to, okay, you're not established yet. Cool. This, like, that's really an opportunity if you look at it. Secondly, being open to, okay, this is a different demo. It's also possibly new customers for you as well, new patrons. And I think also there has to be a level of, I mess with what you're doing and I understand. And we understand that there are things that we need to do to help you make space, um, you know, in the industry, because that less than 1% again that's a number that needs to change. I think, I also have found that just the ease of coachability, that has been that's important across the board, period. So I mean, those are things that I think that non-black, breweries need to kind of, that makes the relationship a lot better. And just that creativity. Okay, what are we doing? Let's do something totally different if we can. What is it that you want to try? How do you, teach us, what is your brewing style? Or what are some things that you've done before that we can learn from you? Because it goes both ways. And I'd also say, I look for collabs like people that share complementary missions, who understand, like, if we're doing a beer, there's also a story to tell, right? So, for example, if you look at Crowns and Hops, their Juneteenth beer, true, it's beer, right? But there's a story there. There's history there. And as much as you said, like, beer is hip hop, um, that means beer is also storytelling. It's history. It's culture. It's who we are. I think when we're bringing more than just a product to the market. We're bringing ourselves, we're bringing our story, we're bringing who we are as people, especially because we've been muted for so long, right?
Yes.
Um, for us to be in a space where I'm talking to sisters about beer, and I'm like, well, don't you know that the first written recipe almost 4,000 years ago, that's y'all. Y'all did that. I mean, we did that, but y'all did that. So that's empowering, right? So that's what I look for in terms of, collaborations, strategic partnerships, things of that nature, because this isn't just some beer that we're making. If you're not down with the values, if you're not down with, um, storytelling, we're griots. If you're not down with that, then it's probably not a good match, right? And then also thinking about, we're making money, but where are you sending these proceeds? You know, some of these proceeds should be going to support, whether it's education organizations or nonprofits, or, something that is important. If you are going to be in the community, you are a business owner, then pay it forward and give back. Is your organization doing that? If not, are you open to it at least? So those are just some things that I take into consideration. And then obviously you want it to be fun. So it should be a great experience where we're learning, as we're cutting our teeth. And we are, very intentional about obviously the beer, but quality, with QA. We're intentional about our ingredients. We're intentional about the experience that we want to create for those who are partaking in our brewed beverage. So that's just my 2 cents, man.
No, I definitely appreciate that, and I 100% agree. I think that's why we are get along so well. It's definitely because I have those same thoughts when it comes to like dealing with collaboration. Is not be problematic, but it's also how to be proactive for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like okay, cool, you collab with me, a black dude in craft beer. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what's next for you?
Mm-hmm.
We know how we like to be. We like to say, and like, what are you gonna
Mm-hmm.
do? Like after the 6 months, once this collaboration beer taps out and it's
Mm-hmm.
completely gone, what are you doing next? Are you looking for the next collaboration? Are you working with artists? Are you working, like you said, these nonprofits? Are you
Mm-hmm.
trying to get in these spaces where you can hire? Like, it's going beyond that collaboration for me.
Mm-hmm.
Then,
Mm-hmm.
if you're able to answer those, I'm more likely to work with you because I know once we go our separate ways, whether I work with Yazoo, Jackalope here, or I work with Sweetwater in Atlanta, or Three Taverns,
Mm-hmm.
working with them, I know I can set this collaboration and it's going to go and create an impact.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my that's one of my biggest questions, like what
Mm-hmm.
impact are you planning to have after this? Are you
Mm-hmm.
going to continue to try to work with the black community, or are you just saying this to check off a box? And
Mm-hmm.
I much rather you'd be honest and be like, hey,
Yeah.
we just think this will be a good moment for us, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not here for moments, I'm here for legacy. I'm here
Mm-hmm.
for longevity. I
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. You want to be like, hey, we did this thing, it was cool, great. No. Like,
Mm-hmm.
are we going to hire and things like that? And even just working with like other black owned breweries is, for me, it's pretty much the same thing, but it's like, okay, how are we going to reach non beer drinkers or very casual beer drinkers that are just
Mm-hmm.
drinking Bud Light Platinum, Heineken, maybe Blue Moon? Depending on who you ask, they say it's craft beer. Some people say it doesn't, but like, how do you bring those people in? How are we catering to them? How are we making them feel comfortable? Because there is a level of comfortability. Beer
Mm-hmm.
can be difficult to
Maybe.
break into.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how we make them feel comfortable with, like, hey, let's try this. And things like that. So that's my 2 cents on that. But I'm sorry, but I just have to talk about this curate. This thing is good. Like, my buddy found it and I was like, I gotta get that. Anything Crowns and Hops in near Nashville, I need somebody to bring that to
Especially that.
me.
Yeah.
And so this is
Yeah. I need to get some of that. Just to piggyback, man. I think the other thing, uh, you talked about. All right. So what else are you doing? Are you, after we do this collab, like what's next? So you have some orgs like Monday Night Garage. They have, yeah, they'll do collabs with you. So for example, they did a collab with Hip Hop Heads. They did a Doppelbock. Pretty fire, fire. But also what they're doing, they're like, okay, well we work with black brewers, but we also have apprenticeship programs. So so they're taking it, okay, so it's not enough just to make beer, but let's train, let's get people to understand operations, marketing, sales, supply chain, finance, right? So they're taking you through all that. Sweetwater, they also have an apprenticeship program that I'm actually looking into. But it's like, what are these breweries doing outside of just also the collabs? Creature Comforts, they've teamed up with Our Culture. Our Culture is in their pilot program for their mentoring. It's amazing. So breweries have to be willing to put their money where their mouth is. It goes beyond a cool can that may say black is beautiful. What else are you doing? Because we saw what happened with that. And some people showed up. As they said they would, and some people didn't. So, but hey, this is the industry, and we learn. But I think we have to always consider what how are we growing the space, given the opportunities that those of us have who are in the space, even if you're brand new, no matter what stage you're at. And then also, who are those people who are helping? Who are those allies they don't care to put their neck, they're putting their neck on the chopping block, and they're seeing hey, I'm vouching for this person. Let's bring you in. Let's get you exposed. I mean, I can name, for example, Tom Carroll, who's in LA. Beer judge. He ran the first inaugural craft beer course at UCLA, and then yours truly was the TA for the next course.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Tom is somebody who's just a resourceful person who's a great connector, but he cares about, you're interested in beer, let me help you. My people, Southland Beer in K-Town in LA, love them to death. They've been very helpful with information, and they always had this piece of pie ready for me when I used to come in late. But when I lived in LA, those are some great people as well. So you know, it's a huge community, but as Black brewers, we have to just continue to strengthen our tools, rely on each other, go outside the box. And I think one thing that's been it's been just kind of very observational for me. A lot of times, I think we have to take a step back and see that we have all the resources in front of us, all the people, our talents, our skills. Get the imposter syndrome out of the way, and just really, start reaching out and just really tap in. And so that's why, like this podcast, you, other folks, as I keep mentioning, people that are part of the journey. That's why it's important for us to just continue to support each other, highlight each other, and have these conversations. Because beer is more than beer. This is a people thing. Yeah.
No, it's that 100%. Beer is definitely a people thing, and just kind of going back to like Deuce and in the quarter, and just kind of delving that a little bit. It just it did mention like just like I can't help but get past like think about like stories and being able to connect us all. And you mentioned like being Black brewers. How do we bring people outside of just Black brewers? What if like someone was like, I don't want to do the brewing part, but I want to be in the space. I want to be a bartender or tap room manager, and or kind of what I do on the side. I want to be in media. I want to use my voice to amplify. How like I feel like that's very important. How can we utilize those people as well? Because yeah,
Yeah.
we brew and we can scream till our lungs fall out of our chest, but our story only goes here. How we
Mhm.
bring those people in, bring in radio personalities, bring in like a DJ Jelly, bring in a Nappy Roots. Like,
I love it.
where
I
does
love.
that start?
I think that starts in addition to exposure and just folks just people just sipping beer, having conversations. But it wasn't until I moved here, Kramer, that I saw. Look at all these different practitioners in the space. Um, we've got we have a homie chef. So Leslie, she's a chef, culinary artist. Um, she curates beer infused, delicious, amazing meals, right? That we also participate in, right? You have, your social media, you have your media folks in craft beer, you have your influencers, you have those who just, want to, be, they want to do podcasts, they want to do any and everything, like their space. But I feel like people have to know that there is room for everybody, depending on what you want to do. And we have to have those conversations when we talk about beer and say, okay, well, you do you're a graphic artist, you're a culinary artist, you're a podcast, you're in media, TV, film, whatever. Like craft beer is also very relevant in extension there and can be experienced there. You're also part of this conversation. You know, there's an event that I helped bring back to Spell House is called Craft Beer Bash, and that's where we highlight all the AUC alumni owned brewing companies. So, for example, one of the homies, she brews, but she's also an influencer. So she was, her name's Chris, the craft beer connoisseur. So
Yeah,
Chris is there on the microphone, right? But also she's delivering some craft beer education, right? We also need cicerones. Shout out to Latrice Harris, Beery Godmother, who's certified. But
let's go.
having
I
her
saw
there,
that. Congrats, Patrice. That's what I'm
yes.
talking about.
But like
Girl, I'm
having,
trying to get you on the podcast now. Well, let's
hey
get that.
Latrice, we gonna hook that up. We gonna hook that up. Uh, but like having people there, like you are also part of craft beer. You're part of the story. You're part of the industry. So that's how we get more of us to kind of get an idea of how versatile professions are within this industry, and that you can do a couple different things. You can be a brewer, and you can be an influencer, and you can do this, you can do that. I mean, hell, you have a couple hats, right? So you run a tap room, you brew, you got your podcast, and all the other things. Like so, there's versatility here. So I think that's what it takes, and inviting people in, but also saying that this is an extension. And this also is you're part of craft beer. You're part of this story, and you're part of this amazing ass group of people that's doing some really cool things. Because beer is art, and you are part of this artistic community, this artistic village.
I got you. I got you. No, I love that. And kind of staying on Deuce in the Quarter, I noticed like your colors of your of Deuce in the Quarter. Like, how important was that for you to get the colors right? Why didn't you just go with the traditional red, black, green? Why is the
Well, no,
orange?
man.
And
It was a so I was working with so my designer I was working with in she's in Cali. She's amazing. Um, uh, we were just kind of going through different just color palettes and things, and what makes sense. And okay, we're talking about there's history, there's this burning desire to do all these things and this and that. And let's play around with these colors, and let's so there's orange, there's black, there's uh we've got gold, black. We've got a couple different things going, but wanted to get something that also just kind of grab your attention. And that just kind of it's easy on the eye. So wanted to go with some colors that I also like that make sense to me, and colors that I know, like my grandfather, that he was partial to. So especially, particularly yellow. My grandfather wore a lot of yellow, so we've got some variations of Deuce and a Quarter in different yellows and things. But just wanted to get something that was also, um, red, black, and green is. I know you use that as an example. I feel like that's you got to be careful, red, black, and green, man. Um, that's sacred. So you got to be you got to be careful with that.
there's a lot of
And
pressure there.
right. So it's in the essence all through and through. Uh, but I think I also wanted to tell the story, just using different images, that people can also relate to in addition to red, black, and green. But that's pretty much it, man. And there's sky's the limit. There are more things I'm going to be designing, so sky's the limit.
I got you. I got you. And kind of where are you at in terms of opening up the brick and mortar? What
Yeah,
process are you in, and
yeah,
what do you need help with? And maybe
yeah,
somebody's listening to this podcast. They're like, "Oh, I can jump in. I got him on
yeah.
that."
So 2024, man. So I have it broken down in different categories. So brewing, So where Deuce and a Quarter is, definitely exploring more recipes and just the try shit, iteration. So I was spending time with I was at Creature earlier this week, spending time with Fenwick and Isaiah from our culture, and we were both, we were all sitting down talking, and Fenwick was like, Fenwick and Isaiah, iteration, iteration, iteration. You just got to keep playing in the lab, keep playing in the lab. So home brewing, doing a lot more of that, and then also, collaborations. I think, that's something I also want to do, definitely more of that. And just continuing to network and through that, and learn. I'd also say mentorship opportunities. That's another, plan of mine for the year. As brewing methodologies are so important, and I'm just all about learning. So continuing to learn. Um, in terms of like, education and involvement, that's another area. So I'm looking to just get more training from, let's just say, larger machines, if you will. So, for example, I mentioned like Sweetwater, they have an apprenticeship program that I'm very interested in. Monday Night Garage has a program. So just really seeing how, um, those organizations of that size, breweries of that size, how they do it, and just things that I can learn, best practices from a brewing perspective, from operations, all those things. Um, and then also just getting sharper. I got to get my Cicerone, man. So I got to get that on. So I'm getting the
I'm
material.
on the same boat.
Yeah,
I've been telling myself I'm study.
yeah,
And I start and I stop. And I'm like, man, no, I need to keep my consistency up. But
yeah,
that's coming this year, 2024. I'm not leaving this year without it.
yeah,
Least certified beer server, at the
yeah,
very least. I ain't leaving
yeah,
2024 without it.
yeah, man. And I'm glad you're on the same train. And I think also just figuring out where I fit, or at least as the Black Brewers Association continues to develop, what that means for us as brewers, where I fit, how I can add to that, where I can grow from that. Um, I'd also say, from an events perspective, definitely getting involved in festivals, conferences, and definitely looking for strategic partners to do some cool things with. As I mentioned, like Beer Bash, for example, definitely want to scale that. Yes, we are highlighting AUC alumni-owned companies, but we've got to ramp that up with some sponsorships, and just some other entities to bring more eyeballs to the movement. Um, and so let me see what else. Just continuing to brew with great organizations, and money, money. So for the brick and mortar, I've got to raise 1.75 mil. So this year I'm focusing also on doing that, and starting to do that, because 2026, late 25, 2026, I'd love to have the brick and mortar then, but I also know it takes time, right? This isn't something that, oh, I want to be a brewer and you just do it overnight. It, unless some people have a lot of capital, they can get a building, they can hire a head brewer, hire a staff, and they're just investors, but they did it. That's not my ministry. So, uh, that's not my parents' ministry. I can't. Hey, what's up, mom and dad? Let me get that one seven
Let me get
five.
that 1.5 out you real
Yeah,
quick.
let me all. So it's that's important. But I've got to raise the capital. Um, get in front of people. Some there are some investors who are interested and who I know are they're part of this, but definitely need to get in front of more people. So that's also a priority. And then, as I said, other brands, wanting to explore other brands, support other brands, find ways for us to complement each other, whether we're collabing or we're doing some sort of strategic partnership or some pop ups or things of that nature. And then, paying it forward That's another priority of the year or just period. Sharing wherever I can. As I mentioned, apprenticeships and internships are something that are important to me that I want to be able to provide. Even if it's just starting out with one student, Morehouse or Spelman or Clark or Morris Brown. And, really, as I said earlier, relying on these resources that we have um, to get things done. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. So for me, this is a year of not that last year wasn't a year of action, but this is just ramping up in those areas. Brewing, raising capital, partnerships, education, opportunities. Traveling more. So that's where Deuce and a Quarter is headed, man. And this is only 2024, so let's continue to get it.
Let's do it. Yeah, and of course, y'all heard what my man needs, but I still want to just kind of just jump in, just kind of talk about beer, man. I can, I can do it all day, people. But no, I love that about your action, and even though you were doing it last year, it's a continuous thing. And it's definitely like last year, you just kind of put your blocks in order. Now it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, all right, I need to put block number 2 together, and or go ahead and take this leap and things like that.
Yeah.
Is there a moment where you'll know you're ready to move forward, or you're just like, let me just continue to build, and then when the opportunity comes,
I
if that
think
question makes
I think it's a combination of both. Like as things align, there's the continuation of moving forward, but then there's also like if there's certain goals that I'm hitting, right? Because nothing is real if you don't put it on the calendar, if it's not written out, if it's not like it's just not real. But if I'm seeing these goals, I'm hitting these goals, then I can also say, okay, I'm ready to pull trigger A, trigger B. So both will be aligned.
Gotcha. Is there like something in your mind you're like, okay, once I do this, I'll be ready for that, or you're just like letting it just kind of flow?
So there is some flowage, but there's also the like, for example, I want to get a couple flagship brews. Like I've got to get right, that I can just kind of really build some excitement around, build some loyalty around, build some, like this is the Deuce and a Quarter. So that's those, for example, that's something that that's definitely on my list. And when getting those things done and then being able to move kind of like to the okay, so what's also next, what's the next big chunk uh that I can do, that may be a little bit harder for me to do as I'm balancing all these other things, but so that's how I'm thinking of doing it. And I what's also helpful is that so teaming up with organizations such as like the Small Business Development Center, the SBDC. So they have an office at Morehouse. So being able to just kind of like, as I'm flowing, but still, hey, I'm bouncing things off. Here's structure, right? As that's very key. So that's going to be definitely part of my progress as I have some things that are free flowing, and then some things that I know that are on the calendar and things that I'm hitting. Uh, and then things that also indicate based off of what I complete, then I know I can do that as well. I can move on to the next thing. So combination of both.
No, I got you.
Yeah,
And I kind of want to go and you spoke about festivals. And shouts out to Jen for this Crafted for Action. I saw that you spoke last year. Kind of how did that help your brand, and how are you going to kind of utilize them in a good way to continue building your brand? Are you
yeah,
speaking again? Are you sponsoring? How do
yeah.
you get Deuce and a Quarter in with Jen and Crafted for Action?
No, great question. So I came up with the idea. I wanted to highlight the AUC alumni-owned companies, and I wanted to, shed light on okay, what is it that you all do? Well, who are you? What do you do? How'd you do it? And integrating your AUC experience into that conversation. So that was last year's panel discussion, and that also spoke to part of what, Deuce and a Quarter is, what we are proud to do is, elevate and highlight other Black-owned companies. So that was just, more or less like an extension of, hey, yes, this is Deuce and a Quarter, but this is also what we are doing. So, in addition to us having our own beer, we would also have these people that are on the stage who we're all promoting, we're talking about, we'd also have them there. So it was kind of an extension of what Deuce and a Quarter would be like. So I think that was very helpful. Not only it was great for Crafted for Action, for the visibility, because I think definitely more people from the AU have eyeballs now on craft beer because they had no clue how many of us are in the space and how strong this movement is in Atlanta. And then I'd also say, like, in terms of continuing to leverage, I plan to continue to volunteer, as somebody to be a panelist or a host for anything at Crafted for Action, in addition to their fellows program, which I'm going to be applying to. So I'm always in some way, shape, or form plan to be part of Crafted for Action. Jen has supported me. When I first moved here, we spoke every week. Jen, I could pick her brain. Like every week, she was somebody I was speaking to. Okay, Darren, what are you doing this? Or what are you doing? Do you have this ready? Or okay, this is where I am in the process of the beer boutique, or this is also what I'm working on. Let me share these resources. So I will always show up for Jen for Crafted for Action, and I will always be part of that in some way, shape, or form. And I hope to, as a business owner, also give back as I continue to grow through Deuce and a Quarter, and just be a partner. So that I'll, eventually I will be a sponsor. Eventually I'll be, something else at a greater level. But this is part of the pouring into and standing on each other's shoulders and paying it forward and growing the space.
No, I love that, and I'm definitely gonna try to get down to Crafted for Action myself, and I think that's a great venue and event for it, because I could see that it wasn't only for
Mm-hmm.
brewers. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely love that it was different types of people. You had the brewers, you had the influencers, you had people in media, and things like that. So like definitely shouts out to Jen for creating that space, and something that's on the opposite end of something like a Barrel and Flow that's up in Pittsburgh. Now everybody can make it to Pittsburgh, but there's
Mm-hmm.
a good amount of people that can make it to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Like I might not be able to get to Pittsburgh this year, even though I'm pushing hard to make it up there with my own collab with a brewery here. Hope, fingers crossed, I can get a second one up there in the last 2-3 years, because I was there in 21.
Okay.
Was that 2021? Yeah, when I did the rollout stout. So it was time. I was like, I missed last year. Not yeah, like last year, because that's right around my anniversary, and the one before, so that was 22. I was getting married, so. But Ashley will tell you. Hey, Ashley will tell you. I definitely eyed that date. I strongly considered it. I was like, could I get up there real quick to make a
Like,
quick turnaround? And then now, in retrospect, hell no, I couldn't have. I was exhausted after that damn wedding. I had a blast, but I was like, oh man, I'm glad I didn't try to make that extra trip. I
yeah,
don't. That would have been tough to do Pittsburgh, then turn around and get married. But I'm definitely
yeah.
gonna try to push to get up there.
I don't. You ain't got that equity yet.
Not at all. No,
I learned about the
I'm
equity.
fighting though. I'm fighting for my
Learned.
life
They said,
out
hey
here,
man,
Darren.
you got to get a couple years in before you start, doing a little trying this, trying that. You got to get that equity, man.
I was like, can we take like a month trip? We'll hit Pittsburgh, do the festival, and we'll go wherever else you want to go. I just need this weekend, baby. That's
this,
all I need.
this. I
These 3 days. Anything else is all you.
yeah. You don't want is
But
that. You don't want that. All right.
No, not at all. But definitely shouts out to people like Day.
Yeah.
And we kind of spoke about with people is just like people being the coat wearers and not the coattail riders. And
Yeah.
I wanted to like, kind of just jump into that and just like and kind of touch on that and just being like, what kind of characteristics do you need to see for someone to be like, okay, you need to put this coat on, you need to go forward, or like, and because there's nothing wrong with either role, but you just need to be actively prepared for it. So, what do you look for in a person that's a coat wearer versus a coattail rider, and how do we utilize both types of
Yeah.
people?
Uh, so I keep eyes and ears open for people who are constantly asking questions. Who are uh, you can tell people that are genuinely curious and people who are like just they're pupils at whatever it is. Like I've got a homie, um, AD. This this sell off auction is happening for this brewery that's going out of business. Let's look at some of this equipment. Okay. Like things like that. People that are showing up who you can tell they're just genuine. Hey, I'm thinking about being a cicerone, or they want to get involved. What they don't know quite how to get in, but there's a hunger, there's a thirst there. Showing up to conferences, people who are showing up, they're at beer shares, asking about the beer. They're like, hey, Kramer, you brew on Tuesdays. Can I hop in with you on on your brew day? Those are people who catch my attention. Um, the other folks who may not be at that level, or may not have that desire, to be part in that way. They also have their role in the space as people who, um, they're there to support. They're there to volunteer. They're there to help you ideate. I have some folks who I will just spitball some things off of. They're not, they're fans of beer, but they're close enough to where they have a vested interest, but it's not anything that they really, really want to do. But they're supportive. People who, for example, depending on your profession, hey, let me take a look at that P&L for you. They're not in the industry at all. Let me look at these numbers, see if they make sense. Let me look at your business plan, see if it makes sense. Um, Let me help you with your pitch. So those like people have roles. Whether you're wearing the coat, or you're creating your coat, or you're there to be supportive. So those are the people that I appreciate, and those are the people that look for, and those are the people that stand out.
No,
And
I love that.
and it like I can even tell you, like, for example, last night, um, my shift was, I didn't leave there until close to 1 this morning. I got there around 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
Oh
But
yeah, he was kidding. You called me. I was at work. I was like, I saw turn. Why you playing? I almost left and traveled straight down. Like, let me. You know what? I
like,
think I got some
yeah,
time to get down there.
yeah,
I was like, I think I got some time to get down. It's only 4 hours. Like, let me see if there's a
yeah,
plane real quick. It's about a 45-minute flight,
yep,
35 minutes from Atlanta. I can get there
yep,
about 2 hours if I really push it.
yep,
I,
yep,
I'm straight. I slipped big Google. I was like, you know what? Can I
yep,
slide out like a 6:30 like p.m. flight from Nashville to Atlanta real quick and just fly back in the morning? Cause I saw, I was like, man, I want to go, but when you're in leadership, sometimes
yeah,
they need you more. They need you more than you need them at times. So
yeah. And
and
and and speaking of that leadership, right? So like yesterday, what's beautiful is that, so like everybody, like when I first got here, and Atlanta, Kentucky hadn't opened, right? And everybody's kind of they're in different stages, and now people have progressed. But it was just everybody was here to support, right? And before Atlantucky opened, we would do things there. We'd congregate, but we would also just see the growth and development of what, Scales and Skinny, what they're doing. And the same group of people were always there to be supportive, right? That same group of people, the new folks who I met when I got here in 2020, we were all there last night volunteering, switching out kegs, pouring up,
Wow, man.
hosting.
You see why I want to get back to Atlanta, bro.
Hosting, cleaning up, asking customers, do you need anything? Like that's community, right? That's a village. And so like we all played a role, and that's so important when you talk about, whether you've got the coat on, or you're a little bit more in the background, but like folks are there to support, and that's what community is supposed to look like. To be able to call, for example, Joel Franklin. He's now he's down in Florida, I think with Goodfoot. To call Joel, he's their brewmaster. Hey man, boom, look at this recipe. Talking to, I can call, hip hop heads. Hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. All right, go here and get this. Clarence from Hip and Hops. Hey, yeah, let's do this together. Boom. People are there and we share, and this is community. This is what I learned. I did not totally. It was hard for me to believe that, or at least I was skeptical when I first came up with the concept. And just talk to people at Smith and Lentz. Go talk to Crazy Gnome. Go talk to. And I'm like, these people are really willing to share this information. Because coming from corporate, I wasn't always used to that. It's cutthroat. I wasn't always used to that. So I'm like, you really about to share this information? And for the most part, yeah. So
Yeah.
That's just, and that's not everybody's story. But I feel like more often than not, we're on the right side of history in terms of people getting what they need from each other. I've heard more positive stories than negative stories. A lot more positive stories. We just got to keep doing that. We got to keep doing that and keep encouraging each other. This shit is rough, dude. Like, there are days I don't want to look at stuff related to Deuce and a Quarter, or I'm tired of. I want to shut the like, I'll get a phone call or a text. Hey, did you do this? Did you do it? Like, keeping each other accountable. That's what family does. That's what So I like having the people around me. I like it's very helpful, and I'm not doing this alone. So again, I appreciate you, brother, because I know I can't be on some bullshit with you either. So hey,
No, of course not. I'm gonna talk about you.
Yeah, you will.
I'm gonna say some.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but yeah, my last question before I go into my last section is how we get Deuce and a Brotha collab going.
You just did.
No, I'm trying to get some in some. I'm trying to have a brew day down there, man, and
We can do that.
come hang out and kick with everybody, all my Atlanta folks. Cause
We can do that. Got to
and
get on the calendar. We just got to get on the calendar. That's all we got to do. That's all we
oh
got to
yeah,
do.
we'll chat
And
off camera here in a little
yeah,
bit. But I
and
always
and
end my podcast with a section called Cheers. And I always give my flowers to everyone. I'm sure you're never not gonna hear positive words, but crazy things happen. You may never hear positive words again. And I want to make sure the Bearded Brotha the Bearded Brotha, give you your flowers. I definitely appreciate the work you're doing and getting into a space, like you said, is underrepresented, under celebrating Black and brown people. And what you're doing and infusing hip hop, infusing your family, infusing your grandfather into telling the story, not only of you, James, Deuce and a Quarter, but the story of craft beer. Like you said, 4,000 years ago, Black women wrote some of the first people to write a recipe down for record keeping and being able to further push that and amplify that. We need that, and we need that everywhere, but specifically craft beer. We're less than 1%, but we are 100% of everything else, 100% of culture, 100% of trends and ideas and conversations. And you do what you're doing with Deuce and a Quarter is just for pushing us along in the positive way we need. And I have major love for you doing that. And I will always be cheering from the sideline, whether it's getting you on my podcast, reviewing your beer when I can get my hands on some, or hopefully being one of your first customers the day Deuce and a Quarter opens. I'll be one of the first ones to walk through the door. But I know how much hard work you put in behind it, and I know what you want to do with it, and I know what it will be in 5, 10, 20 years, and creating that legacy. And I just say I appreciate you, love you, and whatever you need from the Bearded Brother, whatever you need from Ashley, shoot. If you need a dog model, Mr. Bojangles got you as well. He said before I got
His
on
name
the
is
podcast,
Bojangles? That's even better.
Mr. Bojangles. Yeah, he said, "Hey, if Darren needs a dog, I'm handsome. So whatever he need, as long as he pay me in milk bones and beef jerky,
I
I
rock
got
with
whatever he needs." But in all seriousness, I appreciate you. Thank you. Keep pushing Deuce in the Quarter. Keep pushing that message, and whatever you need, whenever you come through Nashville, Bearded Brother got you. But yeah, how can people keep up with you and Deuce in the Quarter in terms of
it.
collaborations and just kind of
Yeah.
keep up with your journey?
No, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate those words. Again, this is me getting to this point and beyond. All of y'all are part of this, so I thank you, man, for the opportunity to talk, to share, um, um, and I appreciate also what you're doing in the space, what you've been doing, and so just thank you, man. And it takes this kind of platform, these kinds of discussions, this openness, candidness, just to so we can figure out who we are, where we're going, what we need, and how to best support each other. So I thank you sincerely for that, bearded brother Kramer. You're the man. So thank you, man. And in addition to you and everybody else that's been part of this, so thank y'all. I also want to give Dr. J a shout out.
Of
She's
course.
OG, triple OG. And yeah, man. Also Black and Brewed, Chicago Mickey, Funky Town, all those guys, Moore's Beer, all those guys. But in order to keep up with me, which I want you all to do, just follow me at Deuce and a Quarter, ATL on IG. That's the best way to follow me, the best way to contact, reach out. Whether you just want to pepper me with some questions or open for collab opportunities, strategic partnerships. Always open to talking about money. But I'm here, so I enjoy engaging. I enjoy meeting people. This is also a people business, and we talk. I've continued to use the word community a lot, so this is also what this is for. So I'm all ears, and I just look forward to continuing to meet people and network, and also figure out how I can help others. So that's basically it. And yeah, I'm Darren, and founder of Deuce and a Quarter. So thank you, Bearded Brother, for having me on here, and I'm thankful for just getting to this point, man. It's rough, but I'm thankful to get to this point. I'm thankful for your support, and I'm thankful to be here.
Oh yeah, definitely appreciate that. And as always, you can find your boy the Bearded Brother on Instagram, uh, Twitter, Facebook. I'm on YouTube if you want to see the audio version of this or the visual version of this podcast. And I'm on your favorite platform, Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. You are more of a listener. And like I said, check out my website, www.thebeardedbrother.com. You can check out all my merch, check out collab opportunities if you need me to host an event, brew days, anything like that. You can hit me up there. And like I always say, grab your friends, good as beer, and of course, drink up.
And I like that shirt you have on, man.
Appreciate it. I had to wear for this one, fellow Morehouse man.
Yeah.
Morehouse brother with my dad, class of '75. For my dad, so if your daddy went back to school or your mama asked about the elevator man, that was my dad. Hooped over there, all that stuff. So, well, like I said, man, like can't wait till y'all check out this episode, and of course, hit us both up on Instagram. We love to chat beer. We can do it all day.